Hello there and welcome to Ancient Theories channel. At the beginning of this video, I want to talk about the elephant in the room. As you may know, you can't do everything you want to in a limited time. And in my last videos about Imago Mundi, there are some elephants. First of all, the Sumerian word dana refers to time. It's one of 12 of a day, or in our standard 2 hours. It was commonly used to measure distance as a walk which will take you roughly 2 hours. However, it can mean also distance, and Akkadian or the Neo-Babylonian word beru means only distance. It is not used as a term for time at all. My assumption about the 12-hour walk was leaning towards older translations of the word dana, which were convenient for me at the moment. Nevertheless, the word beru doesn't mean a 12-hour walk. That was just the assumption that the author translated something wrong when he copied the original map. That happens. However, the other theory is that the distance in Beru on the map refers to the width of a double circle area or bitter river or whatever the Narmaratam means, and the map simply doesn't specify the distances to those Nagu regions, which lays far, far away. If only we could say what the bitter river is. After all, we simply don't know much, and the Narmaratam, how to even translate that? I stated that the Na was translated as river because it means river, but in Arabic. Arabic inherited a lot from Akkadian, which for some makes sense. Well, remember when I explained why Ber and Beru mean the same thing because of the same sound but different authors or regions or accents? The same could be said about Na. But is there a similar situation in the Akkadian language? Let me check. Yet there is a word Naru, and it has Sumerian roots. It means that the word was used for more than 1,000 years. Maybe someone in the 11th generation forgot about one letter? I don't know. But what does Naru mean? The second edition of a concise dictionary of Akkadian from the year 2000 states that it can mean river, watercourse, canal, or stele with inscriptions. Then it can also mean a musician, or criminal. But if we are talking about Neo-Assyrian, then it probably is a river. But if it is a copy of older work, then all of those translations are still in the game. This word in Neo-Assyrian can be also written as Naram, and it would be still good. And the word Maratum, well, someone translated it as bitter, but then it should be Mararam, not Tum. Sounds close, doesn't it? But what else it can be? A design of a date palm, a chain, a specific bird, a sea or swamp, or, wait for it, a rainbow. And you know what? The rainbow translation, even if bizarre, in our case is the most fitting one. It doesn't make sense at all, right? Now you know. If you want the closest fit for the time of the author, then you get River Sea. Most fitting for carved symbols, River Rainbow. But there is more. We are not sure where one word ends and where the second begins. It can be Nam space Aratu, and the Nam is still good for a river or canal in Neo-Assyrian. But there is a catch. Aratu means a curse in Old Akkadian. So, maybe it's not just a bitter river? Maybe it's a cursed canal, like a land where nothing grows and nothing lives. Think for yourself, because at this point nobody knows for sure. Keeping in mind that the map is a copy of an older thing, and an older language than Neo-Assyrian is Old Assyrian, then who knows? Let's discuss now the north on the map. Some academic papers state that Nagu number 5 points to the north, because on the reverse it said that the sun is not seen in this region. And in Iraq, people never see the sun in the northern sky because of its geographics. It's always east to west, and at noon it's above their heads or in the southern sky, depending on the season. That indeed is a marvelous observation. But hey, the sun sets in the west, which could also mean that the author means the setting of a sun as a direct statement, where the sun is no more, which is plausible, and we have seen this construct of idea as the west direction in other cultures. And there are other papers. Yes, those papers which want to convince you that it is only a cosmological drawing and has nothing to do with geography. I feel that I should be fair on YouTube, so let's give this idea a chance. The main point is to place Babylon as the center of the world, the 8 regions as some kind of double divided world directions or sky, and the cities or dots as stars or gods. First of all, the center of the map is not Babylon, but a dot below it. And the cities are not only marked, but some of them have their names written on them. Also, we can clearly see geographic marks like a swamp, a canal, and a mountain, which too are labelled. Further speculations that this is only a cosmological drawing is a road to nowhere. After all, one person said to me that it could be a cool map for a children's story, which the author just made up for entertainment. This is actually close to my heart, but I have to disagree. It's a copy. Would you copy someone else's drawing for children? Maybe so if you would like to publish 10,000 copies of a book and sell them in your network of shops across the country. Why not just draw your own then? And why care for accuracy with the real location of cities? Nevertheless, I can't say it's not merely a piece drawn for entertainment only. Like a pretty map for a fantasy text with accurate locations of some places just to teach younglings some geography while having fun. One last boring thing, the river Euphrates. If the fifth Nagu points west, then why do the Euphrates go west to east and not south or north? That's an easy one. There are parts of the Euphrates where the river goes nearly perfectly south. And it goes now almost perfectly south just at the location of the city of Babylon. But did it then? Babylon was on both banks of the river, and it's highly probable that Babylonians altered its natural path. And in the lower part of the map the river bends, forming a swamp in the north, and it flows through a canal to the south, in a way showing that Susa of Elam is not on its path. And that is true. It's even explained on the map why the river bends in the west. It has to go around a mountain which is partially crossed by the river. We do not know what mountain it is, but it could be a natural one or an artificial mound built to alter the path of the river. As stated, I can be wrong on those matters and others can be wrong too. We just can't be sure. For F's sake, it was 3,000 years and that's longer than 12. Do you remember slang from 12 years ago? I vaguely do. It was something like Gangnam Style and YOLO all over the internet. And when I'm talking about boring stuff on the Imago Mundi, there is also an introduction to it. It states something about ruined cities and ruined gods which god Marduk settled inside a sea, not in the sea but inside. And the word sea is not our word Maratum. Then we read about the viper like a sea serpent inside something, perhaps the same sea, then the Anzu bird and the scorpion man. The scorpion man. The sea word is also not Maratum. And those beasts or demons refer to Sumerian mythology. After that, there is a list of common animals which are beasts that god Marduk created on top of that restless sea, and yes, this restless sea doesn't contain any maritime word in it. After that, there are some heroes' names. We can read only 3. There may be more, but the fragments are lost now. Those are biblical known as Utnapistim in this language, Sargon from the king of battle epic and Nur-Dagon, also a king of Anatolia in today's Turkey. There is one more sentence, but I can't just make sense of it. It can be said that Nur-Dagon's kingdom is so vast that nobody can comprehend it, or all of those guys have kingdoms so vast, or maybe literally Nur-Dagon has huge wings. It can also be that the last line isn't referring to the last one. It is something like this: blank, then wings like a bird whose expanse no one can understand. And you know what? I just love the term ruined gods, whatever it means, although I think the first lines are a bit darker and not so vague. When I tried to translate those lines by myself, it wasn't ruined gods, but destroyed or ruined someone who was in favor of some gods, whose offspring was reduced, and from that reduction what was left was Anzu bird, scorpion man and the sea serpent. And those are not plural. As I said, boring stuff. And that reduction process definitely had something to do with the restless sea or water. Think for yourself, but I just can't comprehend how people come with the official version sometimes. On the other hand, do you know that Anzu bird is basically a dragon with feathers? It breathes fire or thunder, has wings, the head of a lion or something more bird-like but mixed with a saw, but what is even more bizarre, it definitely can multiply. How can we say that it can multiply? In one story appears that Lugubanda, king of Uruk, found little nestling of Anzu bird in the mountains. This king was alive before Gilgamesh and was probably his father. And this bird depiction thing appears in the oldest artifacts from 2450 BCE, which is 4,500 years ago. Guess what? It's a depiction of another king of Uruk with that bird. But if only one Anzu bird survived that reduction, then how can we have a little nestling? Well, If it was a female bird who survived, then she could have laid eggs. In another story about Gilgamesh, it said that there was a nest of Anzu bird in the sacred tree Halub, which is where? In Uruk. Okay, then why we don't have plural Anzu birds in younger stories? Actually, we have, and at some point, the term vanishes. Well, if that was only one survivor from the reduction part, then the gene pool would be too small for any other scenario. But who really knows? Maybe one day we will find a skeleton or some remnants of those birds. Till we meet again.